thought about your idea, after you thought about your idea, then you're going to go back and structure that idea accordingly. Let's say you're writing an autobiography. What you're going to do at that point is set timelines. So you'll say, autobiography, I'm going to start with age, I don't know, 7. I'm going to end at age 27. Okay, so I'm going to, at that point, group together options or objects. So I'll say age 7 to 9 or 7 to 10. These are the things that happen. Age 11 to, I don't know, 13. These are things that happen. Group all my stuff. Then I've given myself a direction in how to write. So at that point, it matters if I start at chapter 1 or chapter 7 or last chapter or the intro. I know what I'm going to say. I have an idea of where I'm going, and if I get off, I know how to get back to it. Another one of the things that we see is that a lot of times people will sit down and they'll just write, which is all wonderful. Writing is inspired. But if you sit down and you just write and you don't read what you've wrote, you could have things that are supposed to be in chapter 2 and chapter 7. You could have things that are supposed to be in chapter 7 and chapter 5. You could have things that are supposed to be in chapter 5 and chapter 11. So it's a wide variety of things that could cause a problem if you don't set some kind of structure. Like I said, you don't have to follow it once you've set the structure, but you do need to set it. And so after we deal with that, I want to deal with some specific things that you need to do while you're writing. So the six of the steps are, we've already dealt with the order and the structure. We've already dealt with mind mapping and outlining. I also want to deal with the next topic, which is editing and revision. After you've wrote your book, after you know that everything is in the order that it's supposed to be, the next thing you're going to need to do is edit the book. You're writing this book because you want somebody to pick it up. You want somebody to read it. You want somebody to view it. And because you want somebody to view it, your highest aspiration is that it'll get picked up by a trade publisher. Somebody will want to do a movie about this book. You want to put your best foot forward that you can. So you don't want to produce something, release it, and it's got 1,000 errors. It's got 1,000 misspellings. Your tenses are not right. So your editor is going to be as important as your writing. You want to put your best foot forward. Some people don't read books that have lots and lots of edits. And the beauty of writing a book and different things of that magnitude, especially when you deal with self-publishing, is that your very first works is going to be picked up by your friends, your family, your loved ones, people that love you anyway. They're going to buy this book just to support you. Doesn't matter how wonderful the book is, they're going to pick it up. After you get past those people, you still need to sell books. You didn't write this book for the 50 people you know, 100 people you know. You wrote it in hope that some kind of way it'll go into some channel that somebody has access to, that can open a door for me, and I can sell in the thousands, hundreds of thousands, in the millions. I can be a bestseller. So because you have that aspiration in mind, do the work that makes you proud once it gets to that level. Because the truth is, no matter how great you edit, sometimes you still find a mistake, but you don't want to find the stuff that you know you could have fixed. Because you could have fixed that. That's simple. Spell check is on every Word document there is. Run a spell check. Look into Grammarly. There are things that will fix your tenses, or at least show you that your tenses are off. You need to know these kinds of things when you are producing your work, because we are great people and we have big dreams and big goals. We're not writing for 50 people. So you got your editing. After you've done your editing, do your revisions. Do the work. The revisions are important. When you get your editor, one of the important conversations you have to have with your editor is, I don't want you to take me out of my book. Don't edit it so much that it's not me. Edit it, make my work great, but don't rewrite it. So that's a conversation you have to have, because you may have a specific thought, theory, framework in mind that you want to be out before the people. So because you have those ideas and that framework, you want you still in the book. So make sure your revisions are great. Make sure your editing is great. After that, oh, let me tell you, when you do your revisions, you're going to revise as a reader, as somebody that just picked up the book. You're going to revise as a writer. You're going to revise as a proofreader. And then you're going to write and walk away for a period of time. Why is this important? Because after you've wrote for a period of time and you've looked at it and you've looked at it and looked at it, what you find out is that you see things there that you didn't put there. Think and in the book, but you didn't. You'll think that you said things correctly that you didn't, because you're reading in your head. You know what you meant. So walk away from it for a period of time. Maybe that's 24 hours. Maybe that's a week. Maybe even that's a month. But walk away from it. Give yourself the time to have fresh eyes to see this book after you've looked at it. Our next topic is the beauty of publishing. I want to talk about 3 different types of publishing. Everybody knows what traditional publishing is. Traditional publishers are publishers like Zondervan. They're like HarperCollins. They're like, trying to think of several of the big name publishers. Those are the people that you get a contract with. They pick up your book, you get a portion of the sales, and then they pay you royalties and different things of that magnitude. That is wonderful. But the truth of the matter is that only 4% of the books that are submitted to those trade publishers are picked up. So they pick people up, but it's not a whole lot of them like you would think. So because of that, you have to take other mediums and other steps. And so you want to be able to submit to a trade publisher, and then you want to also be able to have other avenues. So you got the trade publishing, they do all the work, they do the publishing, they do the promotion, they do the marketing, they do all of that. Then you have self-publishing, of course, which is included in the title, self and publishing. You are doing the work, you're doing all of it. You're doing your marketing, you're doing your producing, you're doing your releasing, you're doing your creative, you're doing your cover design, you're doing your scheduling, you're doing everything involved with that book. Then there's another group called Vanity Publishing. Vanity Publishing are individuals that will say in so many words that they're publishing your book, they're picking it up, they're doing it for you, and you're paying them. You may pay them $1,200, $1,500, $1,700, however much it is, in some cases, and they may give you five to, I don't know, 20 books based off of the package that you pick up. It has its pluses and its minuses. They do a lot of the work for you, but what a lot of times you don't know is if they pick up your book, then they own your ISBN. If they pick up your book, they choose your cover design. You don't choose it. You don't own it. If you decide to pull it off of there, you're gonna have to change that cover. A lot of times they do a contract for a period of time. So they may hold your book, I don't know, for anywhere from, I've seen 12 months to, in some cases, 48. I've actually had friends that had books under Vanity Publishers for about 48 months, and they could not pull that book off of that publisher until that was over. They make a portion of the money, you get a little bit of your money. So they're set up as both, kind of, sort of. They're set up as vanity and, I'm sorry, they set up as self-publishing and as well as trade publishing. So they do some of the things that trade publishers do, but you pay for it and you don't own it. So I try to tell everybody, kind of stay away from that one if you can. And the truth of the matter is there are ways to do all of it yourself, and you don't have to pay a whole lot of people. Now, the great thing about self-publishing is you're going to make the most of your money. You will, I don't know, you'll put in and pay, let's say, about $400, $500 to get the book out and all of that. You sell the book for the price that you want. In most cases, you're going to mark up about 2, at least 3 times what you pay for your book to get it published. But you're going to make the biggest portion of your money. Trade publishers, if they pick it up and they give you this front money or this introductory money, it may be $200,000. But if you're a bestseller and it goes and you sell 1 million copies, you're going to make whatever it is that y'all agreed to at the beginning. Now, it's a wonderful thing if you're trying to establish a name. As you get up a little further, you can renegotiate contracts and things like that. But there's a strong business side to trade publishing. You have to be aware of the business and be on top of your money, because they're looking to pick up your book because they think it'll make money. And if it'll make them money and they put the investment into you, you have to also make sure that you are able to make money back on the back end. Vanity publisher, you may or may not make the money on the back end. They're making their money when you publish the book, as well as every book that you sell. Now, another thing I want to talk to you guys about, there are several companies called print-on-demand companies. Print-on companies will pick up your book. They have different categories and platforms where you are able to completely create your book in their database. However, it's a blessing to have, because you'll probably get the best price from print-on-demand companies. Popular print-on-demand company was CreateSpace. They've changed their name to KDP. KDP has a full setup to where you can do everything for your book in their establishment. You can create your book cover. You can pull down a formatting template. You can publish the book. You can get copies of the book. You'll probably get a pretty decent price per book, depending on how many pages you do, and if the book is black and white, full color, and all those things of that magnitude. So those are good companies to utilize. Now, they provide avenues and different places and ways for you to sell your books. Online distributors. One of the popular online distributors is Amazon.com. Everybody knows who Amazon is. Amazon is a wonderful tool. Amazon, however, makes a portion of your sales. It's the portion that they make for their name notoriety. Because everybody knows who Amazon is, and your book is on Amazon, they can go and purchase your book on Amazon. Amazon has a clause in their information that says for every book that you sell, they make I don't know, $2.50. Let's say you paid $2.50 for your book. You sell your book for $12.95. Amazon says they're going to make this amount of money, $2.50, and they may make distribution charges if they are the print on demand company that you use. It's wonderful to have, it's wonderful to use. I, however, tell everybody, especially if you know your people that are going to buy your book, create your own website, put your own stuff out there, and sell your book on your website. You're going to make the most money from you. So sell your book on your website. People that you know will buy your book on your website, send them there. You'll make your money. Everyone else that you do not know that will not go on your website, that will say, I need somewhere reputable, send them to Amazon. There are people that are that way. And those people are very strategic, and they mean that they want to buy it the one way that they know. So you want to have your book on Amazon. You want to have your book on Barnes and Noble. You want to have your book on all those things, but utilize the platforms that you can create for yourself or the individuals that will utilize those platforms. Another thing I want to talk about is your ISBN. ISBN is the identifiable number on your book. It is attached to a barcode. That barcode is how they mark your sales for your book, specifically in stores, both online and in person, brick and mortar stores. If you go through a print on demand company or through a self-publishing company or through even a vanity publishing company, you can get an ISBN through them. Print on demand company may have a deal where you can get an ISBN for $199 through them. However, for an individual ISBN is $125. I encourage buying an ISBN. The reason why is because if you ever get to where you want to move that book to a different company, you don't agree with what's going on with the company that you're using. If you don't own that ISBN and they do, you take the free one or you take an option that you don't own. If you go to move it, they keep that ISBN. You republish that book. You are then competing with your own book. And when your buyers go to purchase it, they don't know the book that you moved versus the other book unless you have a completely different cover and you showed them that you changed the cover. They don't know. They're going to buy the book because it's the book. You may make $4.75 on one company, but $7.25 on the other company. They won't know the difference. You'll still get your royalties, but you won't make as much money. So you want to own your ISBN in case you ever want to move it, in case you ever want to change it. There are distributors in different places, different countries, and if you order a certain amount of books, you can get books sometime for $1.25. You may have to order like 1,000, 2,000, 10,000. But I mean, the point is, if you ever got to that point and needed to do that, not owning that ISBN will lock you up. So you want to own that ISBN. The more ISBNs you get, the cheaper they are. So if you buy one, it's $125. But if you buy three, it's like $250. If you know you're going to write more than one book, buy more than one ISBN. But if you know you're going to do one by one, important things have to know when you deal with publishing and self-publishing. So just to go back and do a recap, edit that book, provide book if you have to. Straighten it up. Do a summary of your book. Do an outline of your book. If an outline is difficult and you are a visual thinker, do a mind map of your book. Set structure at the beginning so that you can free fall at the end. But if you don't set the structure, that'll be problematic. It causes you issues. And in some cases, some editors charge by the word. Some of them may charge by the hour. Some of them have different charges. And if your book is completely out of line and out of alignment, they'll have to go back and fix that. And that could cause the editing price to be higher than what you want it to be. So just make, your own life easier. I'm going to give you guys a couple of companies that you can use to freelance different things. And then we'll be done on this portion of it. So one of the companies that let me say it this way. If you use a print-on-demand company and you create your book cover through them, it's great, it's wonderful, but you have to take into consideration that they have what's called a template, and every individual that creates a book cover on their company, that 12, 15 count template is available to everyone. So it's likely that you will have a cover that looks just like somebody else's if you use that cover creator. It's wonderful to use if you need to, but if you don't need to, it's best not to. One of the companies that I use to create covers, I go on to a site called Fiverr, Fiverr. Fiverr is a group of freelancers. They will freelance a cover. In some cases, Fiverr, you may find someone on Fiverr that will do your book cover for $5. You can find somebody that'll do it for $15, and so on and so on. Because they're freelancers, they're all over the world. So you could have someone that's working on your book that could be in Australia or Zimbabwe or wherever. They could be in a variety of different places. Because they are in different places, you have to take into consideration that there is a language background or barrier. Make sure you're clear, make sure you're concise. I use bullet points, especially if I know I'm not using someone from the US, because they don't always get all the slang. So just move the things that'll cause problems for you. So I utilize Fiverr. Fiverr is great. I go on there, I look up a person to do my book cover. I pay them, whatever it is that, their charge is, whether I use a $5 option, $50 option, $100 option. I pay them their price, and then they create the book cover. In some cases, they may have a 1 to 3 day turnaround. At that turnaround, they'll send you something. You tell them everything you want. What color your book is, how many pages it is. You want to have a bio for yourself wrote up. You want to have a book description for yourself wrote up. Both of those things will be needed because it'll go on the back of the book. Have all of that stuff wrote out, your name wrote out, and just go for it from there. Utilize all the avenues that you can to cut your costs, because number one, it'll be top notch, it'll be professional. Number two, it's a cost that's minimal. You don't have to use the avenues that are certain prices. Now, if you want to use somebody local is always wonderful and great. Sometimes I'm looking to cut a corner. Cutting a corner may put $50 more in my pocket and let me put that $50 more towards my editing, which, I know is going to be monumentous. I can't cut corners on my editing. Now, this is the beauty of another thing. You are now saying that you are a freelancer. Because you are a freelancer, you're an individual that's providing a service. You are linking up and working with people that are providing a service. If you are working with someone that you know, and you know that you have a friend that's an editor, that's good at editing, that's a teacher of English or something like that, that is a great editor, you can barter different services. Hey, I need this. I do this, you do this. If I do this for you, can you do this for me? Barter different services that you can. Sometimes you may be good at graphics, they may be good at editing. You can trade and barter a service and get that thing done. But utilize every avenue you can. Make your life easy while you're working on your stuff, because yes, there's a price to everything, but the price doesn't always have to be cash. Some people are great at videography, and other people may just need editing. You don't know. If they have a service that you need and you got something they need, barter that service. Utilize different things. What I forgot to tell you guys is to copyright your book. If you go on Copyright Office to copyright a single document, is $35. It's an online application. If you do that, press online, copyright book that covers you, and make sure that your idea is not able to be taken. You have something that backs you up. In the day they used to tell you to man copyrights, don't do that. It's not bound by law. It's not covered. And a lot of times we don't think it's a big deal. But I'm reminded of about a year ago, I was watching the news and they were talking about the movie, The Matrix, and how this lady submitted the movie, The Matrix, to this large company, and they took portions of her movie. They had to go back and pay her. But if she didn't do those copyrights, she didn't have that stuff that backed her up, that would have been problematic for her. So make sure you do your copyrights, because you don't know who could read it, especially if you send it to a trade publisher. You don't know who could read it that picked it up, that thought that, you know, this was something that was great and they want to be able to utilize it, but it's your idea. You know your idea when you see your idea, and you'll be able to go through the proper channels if you cover yourself appropriately. But don't just put your stuff out there and not get coverage. Cover you, cover yourself. Do the work, do the work, do the work, do the editing, do the summary, do the revisions. Editing, revisions are the most important thing. I can't even tell you how many books I've read that are not edited well. I can't tell you how many people I have not been able to talk into doing the editing. It's essential, because if that book gets beyond you, you want to make sure that your best foot is forward. Other than that, I believe that is the end of my material. I'm going to do a real quick sweep and check. Oh yeah, the other reason why you want to make sure to use a freelancer and different things of that magnitude when you do your cover and all of that, because a lot of times we see pictures that are really nice on the internet. Oh, I like that, I'm gonna put that on my book cover. I like this, I'm gonna put that on my book cover. But a lot of times those images are licensed. So you want someone that has the ability to get an image that is not covered by somebody else. We don't always know which ones are and which ones aren't. I just look online. Oh, that's nice. I'm gonna pull that. I'm putting it on my Facebook. Everybody is stealing, pirating everybody's images and stuff right now. But you don't want to do that when you're doing a work, because at this level, no big deal. They're not gonna sue you. But if you sell 1 million copies, they're gonna come after you for their image because you have some money. So make sure you get image-free images. Get images that are not covered or not owned by someone else, or pay for the license. And because you may not know how to do it, get you an artist that does. All right. I believe that's all of my info. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Crystal.
Oh my goodness, Tamia. Oh, okay. So first off, thank you. There are so many questions. If you could please put your contact information and how people can reach you in the comments, in the chat. But there's a few questions, but you highlighted something. Me as a graphic designer, I face this all the time. I create flyers, I create book covers, I create that stuff, but people are like, I want to use this specific image. And they'll send it to me. And for instance, it'll be a picture of Beyonce. Now, me being an editor knows, or someone that does graphic designs, I know that you can't just use anybody's work. I had a similar situation I just heard about. One of my good friends, she and her partner went into some business, and their flyer that they're using on, or their website, the main image on their website is someone is coming to trying to sue them because they said that that website cover belongs to them and they want to get paid. So make sure you cover yourself all in. So I see a couple of questions. One of the first ones that I see is, oh, over here. Does copywriting your book just mean to register the title or something more? And if you have questions, please put them in the comments or the chat or wherever you're tuning in from. Put them in the comments and one of our people will go and grab those questions.
Copywriting covers your work. It covers your title. It covers the work that you've done, your writing, depending on what you've copywritten. Sometimes you can copyright something as an unfinished work. If you're presenting it to somebody and you want to, I don't know, as a portfolio or something like that, you can do it as an unfinished work. But if you do that, you're going to have to copyright it again. So what I try to do is copyright at the end. I try to. After I've copyrighted at the end, all of my writings, the way that I wrote it is covered and copywritten. Sometimes I copyright my ideas only because I know I'm going to put it in a medium or a place that someone could grab hold to, and I don't want in hands that misuses it, makes all kinds of money on me, and I don't make a dime because I did not copyright it. So it doesn't just cover your work. A lot of people do copywriting with trademark, kind of the ability to cover a an item. Copywriting covers you trademark a company, you trademark a logo, trademark, all that kind of things. You copyright your books, your songs, intellectual property. I'm trying to think of all kinds of intellectual property. Poetry, you copyright those kinds of things. You can copyright sometimes your poetry books, your picture books, whatever it is, but make sure you cover your work.
So when you say copyright, because some people, this is taboo to them, what does that mean exactly? Like copywriting, is there a place they can go? Do they come through you? Could you help them with that? How do they get in touch with copywriting? Because a lot of people are writing books. That doesn't mean that they've copywritten it, and mailing the book off to yourself with the stamp was the poor man's copyright back in the day. We know that's not a good rule of thumb, but what are some ways they can copyright?
You want to go on the U.S. Copyright Office. Now I'm gonna tell you the honest to God truth. Yes, I can do it. However, you can too. It is it's written by lawyers. So keep in mind that it's written in legalese. You may have to read it 4 or 5 or 13 times in some cases. But you go on the U.S. Copyright Office, you can upload it as an electronic document as long as it's one work, it's $35. If you add more than one work, more than one title, I think it's $60. Still not a whole lot. The beauty of copywriting is it doesn't matter if you've received your certificate. As soon as you upload it, it's covered. Even if you make a mistake on your application, and the great thing about them is if you make a mistake, they're going to email you or call you or contact you on whatever the contact information you put down. And they're going to say, did you mean to put X, Y, and Z? I checked something called special handling, I think the very first time I did it. Special handling cost $760. I was not trying to pay $760. It was clearly a mistake. But they called me and they asked me, and I was like, no, I do not. The lady went in the system, she unchecked it, she told me what to do after that. So they're great at making sure that you have your information right. They reach out to you, they email you. They're pretty quick, but like I said, it's the government. So it's real Monday through Friday, 8 to whatever their hours are, 8 to 5, 8 to 7, whatever it is. But they will contact you back. And so copywriting protects your manuscript. It's a form of legal protection granted by the U.S. government to authors, creators of original works and authorship. Copyright laws protect literary, dramatic, musical, artistic, and other intellectual properties. Copyrighting your material ensures that you, the author of the work, have complete rights to the work and make it illegal for anyone else to use any information of your intellectual property or book without your permission.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. I that is mind blowing because I see people charging hundreds of dollars to copyright people's books, and you just busted that theory all out the water. I'm sure there's people, authors right now that are logged in, that are on this video, that paid more than $35 because they didn't know that they could go and do the copyright themselves. So I thank you, Ms. Tamia. Let's see if there's any other questions out here.
If I can say one other thing, yes, that actually does happen. It was one thing that I forgot to mention with those trade publishers and even some self-publishers. A lot of them will tell you that they have an avenue that you don't have. However, guess what? There are under 10, I believe it's under 5 print-on-demand companies, PODs. Just about everybody uses those 5 PODs, in which there are 2 main that are at the top. There's KDP Amazon, and there's another one called Lightning Source. Lightning Source is for publishers. Those are print-on-demand companies. They can print a whole bunch of your books, whether you do 1 or 1 million. They can print them out quick.
Wow.
Because there are so few of them, a lot of them are telling you that things cost the price that they don't. But they're charging you for their expertise and not the fact that you can do it all yourself and pay between, I say under COVID, maybe, I still think, but pay between $300 to about $550, and you can have books in hand, at least 50.
Wow.
Unless you wrote a book that has 200 pages, actually 300-400 pages, because the more pages you do, the higher your book is. In most cases, to print your book, it's going to cost under $500. I'm sorry, under $5. If you pay $5, in most cases, probably $2.85. If you pay $2.85, 3 times $2.85, because you want to make 3 times what you paid. So if you can't make 3 times, they told you your book costs $10. You can't charge 3 times $10. You can do 2 and do 20, but for what? They don't have anything that you can't do.
Wow. That is eye-opening. I can't wait till I finish up my book. I will be going through you for my publishing, which I have before. So this is so insightful for me, and I know the people online right now. This is information. I hope if you're logged in, wherever you're logged in at, you can get in touch with Miss Tamia Lewis on Facebook. She's also, what are other avenues, Miss Tamia? How can they find you?
I tried to keep it easy. My handle on all my social media is Tamia D. Lewis. So you can find me under each and every one of them. I think I put my phone number and my email, and my email is my name, Tamia D. Lewis at Outlook.
So without further ado, if you didn't know, today we are giving away 1 copy of this book, and somebody is about to be set free. Like, I don't know who it is, but you need this book. If you aren't that lucky person, there's her price out there, $19.99. Go get your copy. It is worth it. 1 lucky person is going to get it for free today. So without further ado, let me go ahead and put that on the screen, and then we're going to go into our next session. These are the lucky names. Oh, wait a minute. What happened? I thought I put it on the screen. Hold on. Okay. These are the lucky names of the people that are about to win this prize today. One of these people. So I'm just going to hit the spin button. Let's see who this winner is. Sweet Angel 15211. I'm not sure who that is. Hold on. I didn't put the names. I put the actual emails. So the winner of that is Camilla White. Congratulations, Miss Camilla White. I will make sure that you get that link emailed to you with the ebook for this wonderful book. Everybody else, you have to go purchase it. So we're about to step. Thank you, Miss Tamia. Again, I know today is a busy day for you. You are coming out with your own little comedy show, and it is about to be amazing. So if you do have time, what is the name of the comedy show again?
The name of the comedy show is Unprecedented Laughs. It is clean comedy. I told everyone they don't have to completely, talk about church the whole time, but I do want it to be kid friendly. So the show, this particular one is called the 2020 edition. This is a series. Our next one will be in March. And so be looking for us. We have a Facebook page. Reach out to us and tickets are on sale. They're on Eventbrite. They're $10 until showtime.
Thank you, Miss Tamia. So, okay, we're about to get started. This is the nitty gritty. So now I have a panel of people that are about to talk to you, Tamia included with this panel. And I'm just going to go through the names. And as I say your name, if you could come up and tell us about your full name, and the name of your book, and your social media handles. So the first person that I'm going to mention today, I don't know if Miss Angela, did you tune in? I know she had some technical difficulties earlier today. Miss Angela, did you make it in? I'm trying to go through the names. I don't see her on here. So I'm going to go to the next name, Mr. C Note. If you could come up.
Hello, how you doing?
Great. How are you?
All right. Beautiful, beautiful day. Beautiful Saturday. Busy day.
Yes, it is.
My name is C-Note, R.S. Wilson. My book is Wisdom's Lit, Laughter and Tours. That's available on my website, cnotex.com, as well as on Amazon. It's available locally at Fulton Books and Coffee on Latimer, as well as catch me at CNOTEX. That's CNOTEX, representing Black Pearl Diamonds Publishing. I book, Wisdom's Lit. This first book that's out. It's done real well. I have 2 more books coming. Next one is called Moons.
You cut out on the last little part. You said the next one is called what?
The next book that's coming out is called 6 Moons.
6 Moons.
Yes,
awesome.
I put that off and wait until that's going to be the first of spring before that comes out. And you want me to share more information about events? We have Blurs that I represent.
Yay!
Out on Tubi. World premiere last night. Download Tubi if you haven't already checked out Blurs. Also, there's a co-author book signing event that I'm a part of for Latasha for her Mother's Love, the raw reality of Mother's Love that's happening today.
Yes.
And doing some Black women empowerment and all women empowerment. So doing some spoken word pieces, and we're just getting ready to push things for the next year.
If you could put your information in the comments, in the chat, so people can find you. And thank you for being here today, Mr. C Notes. And again, is that event this afternoon, is that a virtual event or is that a live event?
The co-author event is a live event that's going to be downtown at the Black Wall Street Gallery. Of course, we're doing social distancing and everything of that nature. It's from 5 o'clock to 7.
5 to 7.
And it's going to
Duly
be
noted.
a meet and greet.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so next in our lineup is Miss Camille Diaz.
Hey. So I'm Camille, and my book is called The Shakeup, Misfit to Best Fit in 30 Days. It's about figuring out your path to happiness and developing the courage to follow it. You can usually find me on social media under Camille Diaz or like LinkedIn and stuff like that, or you could look for Cam Unfiltered.
Hurry up.
Whoops. Go ahead, Miss Camille.
What did I miss? I think I covered it. What did I miss there?
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were finished or not. Thank you.
I'm good.
So
Thank you.
I think she just realized that she was on live. But thank you for being here today. And you're also a part of what networking group?
Yes, so I'm actually a part of a couple of different things. I run a chapter of Bold Networking virtually on Friday afternoons, and I also host a free women's event called Wine, Women, and Wealth once or twice a month.
Yes, I knew that you were a busy lady. So if you want to find her, Miss Camille, if you could put all of your information in the chat so that people can find you.
I will do that, and I'll include a link to my podcast as well.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so next we have up Mr. Obum.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Obumu Kabam, and I have several different articles published. I'm also a playwright. So my most recent work we've had was a show called Reflections, which we were able to perform in early March before everything happened here with the pandemic. But it's I co-wrote that as well, so I do that. But one thing, I'm also the producer of something that's going on right now called Tell Me a Story. So through Theater Tulsa and AHA, we ask Tulsans to give us your true story, submit your true story, and we will make it into a play, a 10-minute performance. So we have socially distanced through AHA. People get to walk through different experiences and watch these true stories be performed. Again, like I said, we have social distance regulations, so we don't take any more than 10 people in each group as they move through the whole art center, watching and experiencing people's true story. So we're trying to give writers a way to cultivate their experiences and just give actors things to do as well. So that's something I'm currently working on. But like I said, I'm a playwright and I've written stuff. One of the things I've had published is a piece called Interrogating the Myth of the Ism, an analysis of dominant and subdominant culturally linked perceptions and endangered motivations for continued participation in intercollegiate competitive debate. So that sounds boring, so that's why I didn't lead with that. But yeah, it's really just trying to protect those who are in debate and who are, women or people of color, and some of these things that they think are rewards for us, right? We have to really analyze them and say, well, if these rewards are so great, how come there's not a lot of us doing this? So that's what we wrote about. And again, it doesn't sound as good, but I have some other things in the works. So thank you for having me.
That is amazing. Now, I want to back up because that tell true story thing, so a 10-minute script, right? And is there guidelines for what these stories can be?
Yeah, the only guideline we had is it has to be a true story. And we've had a bunch of, and I forgot to add that we're performing them. Tonight is the last night for the November batch, but we will be performing them in December and January. You can go to theatertulsa.org, or you can go to AHA's website, AHA. You can go to website, you can buy tickets, or you can schedule. But yeah, the only guideline we had was it had to be true. So we had a lot of submissions, and we picked the stories. And what we do, we take the story, we give it to then the plan hand off to her, and the director finishes the final touch of it. So it's a really adaptation of your true story.
Oh my gosh, this is my first time hearing that. I feel like we need in the loop Tulsa event calendar. Yeah. I may have to put that together because I feel like there's so much going on and we get kind of lost in the sauce because everybody promotes it everywhere, but there's no centralized place for everyone to put everything at.
Well, somebody's
because
doing that right now. Look out for Black Vibe Tulsa, Jamila Stuckey. They're working on that heavily. They just won a grant with Typro, so that's coming. That is coming.
I love it. You said that. What's the name of it? What is
Uh,
the
Black Vibe Tulsa.
Black Vibe Tulsa? So we need to get in the loop on that. So thank you for being here. If you could put your information in the chat so people know where to find you. Next we have Miss Patisha Royal, and she goes by, and I'll let her say it.
Sorry for my outburst, y'all.
You're totally fine. You went back mute.
Okay. All right. Thank you for having me. It's pronounced she. So that's my
She.
pseudonym. Yes, she. And so my first book is called Memoirs of a Brokenhearted Little Girl. So it's basically stories and poetry that I've written from when I was a young girl, so growing up. So I have a memoir series. And so my second book is actually on pre-order now, and it's Memoirs of Rampant Reflections. And so typically I handle the sales. You can go on Lulu, or I have an organization called WHOW.org, WOEH.org, and you can find that on there as well. I'm on social media as She Royal on Instagram and Facebook. So you can also contact me there if you want a signed copy. And they also come with a gift with purchase.
Nice. So any exciting projects going on right now?
Yeah, so I'm based out of Missouri. So every month I host Women of Poetry. And so if you're ever in the Missouri location, I do a lot of hosting and emceeing there in the Arts District. So again, every first Thursday, I'll host Women of Poetry, and I will be launching a Women's Talk podcast there soon through WHOW. And
Nice. So is this virtual or is this in person?
So it's in person. It's in person. And so I do line up. So I pick the women, and we basically dedicated to women. I also do women's seminars there, and it's in person. We'll start back launching December in person. And so basically just teaching women how to be empowering women and teaching them how to heal, their inner selves, and teaching women how to really connect through a sisterhood bond, because sometimes as women, we learn to be very decisive and, should I say indecisive, and very divisive as far as being broken up. And so what we do is basically teach women how to rebuild those bonds between women that's been broken.
That is amazing. It sounds like there's a collaboration between you and WOW that is about to happen. Ooh, I'm excited. So thank you for being here. If you could put your information in the chat so people know where to find you at. Our next speaker is Miss Sarah Garfield. Miss Sarah, are you there?
I'm here. And how are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I am the author of Love Always, which is basically an autobiography. It is meant to be an inspirational book. Our lives often entail stories that require love and forgiveness in order to press on. And hopefully the book, Love Always, does inspire people to do just that. I'm working on a sequel to that right now, which is called Life After Death. And it's a very lighthearted book, kind of done in the tradition of Irma Bombeck, if you're familiar with her. It's just a series of little short stories about continuing on after losing someone very significant. I've also written a book of poetry, Flowers in My Garden, which is based on 4 decades of a life with family. And hopefully it is as inspirational as the autobiography. The poetry in here has won several different awards from the International Poet Society. And I have also authored a children's book called Little Sis. And it's basically just a short story that's illustrated to make children who are displaced as an only child, you know, more welcomed. And it's told from the understanding heart of a mother of 7 myself. I'm also currently, the children's book is a spin-off for a series of books that I wrote, a volume series that I wrote when my own children were growing up. And it's called the Amanda J. Thompson series. And being a person who was in a interracial relationship during a time where it was not well accepted, and raising biracial children, the the mission of the book is to subtly introduce young children who are a blank slate to the fact that not everyone looks the same, but we should embrace one another. So anyway, I'm really happy to be here, even though I'm a little nervous, but thank you so much for the invitation.
You're welcome, and thank you. That is a powerful statement. I think a lot of young children in the world that we live in, you know, they deal with that. So that book sounds like that's something some of my family should read, and friends that have went through that. My best friend is biracial, so it was a struggle, and I feel like a lot of them do struggle with depression because of just not knowing where to fit in. So that's a book that I hope is getting the recognition that it truly deserves. If you could put in the comments your contact information so people can be in touch with you. And thank you for being here. I'm going to move on.
I was going to say all of my books are available on Amazon and in Barnes and Noble. The series of children's books is currently being illustrated, so I haven't actually published the 12-volume series yet, but I hope for it to be out by early spring.
Awesome. Well, let us know at WHOW when that book comes out. We'd love to hear about it. Our next panelist is Miss Marva Brown Thomas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Crystal, for having me. I'm excited here. So already exceptional information. Like I'm just at a, I'm just happy to be here. Okay.
Yes.
So thank you. But anyway, I am a co-author with my daughter who is 11, who wrote a book, Be Yourself. Here it is. And she, it's actually about bullying. And so, the young kids today, they have low self-esteem issues, and they just burst out in different ways. And so she wanted to bring attention to bullying. And so we started the book when she was 9. She got distracted. And then at 11, we picked it back up, and we just really actually got it published this year. And so we're excited about it. And I know that my background is probably gonna not allow me to show, her illustrations or whatever, but you guys, I'm excited for her and I'm proud of her. And so we're co-authors on this book. I'm also excited to announce that I will be dropping my new magazine that I created and wrote. I'm excited. It is going to drop on November the 20th, and I'll give you guys information. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm excited about this. And so we'll give you information on how to get it. The magazine was created after the George Floyd murder. And I just wanted to do my individual part to say that we can all work together, we can succeed together, and we can do it in peace. But we're also standing for justice and equality. I do embrace my culture, but I say that all lives matter. So that's me. That's what I got going on. So we're brand new authors. You can find me on Facebook at Black Is Magazine. So Black is going to be one word. Also, I'm creating a second YouTube channel, and it is Black Is _ magazine. And that's where I'll have all of my interviews that are for people that are in the magazine, and just women empowerment. That's what I'm about. I run Phases the Next Level, which is all about women empowerment. So Black Is and Be Yourself is an affiliate of Phases the Next Level. So I'm on Facebook as Black Is Magazine, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere, Black Is Magazine. So if you're interested in the magazine, hit me up and I'll put it also in the chat.
That is amazing. You are a powerhouse, a power wheel person who has everything going for themselves. This book, this bullying book, especially nowadays, I think a lot of children, they're experiencing it on a virtual level because there's so much virtual bullying going on. So this book really speaks to the children of this age, even more than it did back then, because I think bullying is at its worst because there's so many variations of families and different things. And bullying is as subtle as someone just picking with you through Messenger nowadays.
Right, absolutely.
So
Absolutely. I try to teach my 11-year-old about that. So I'm always in her business on, you know, and whenever she plays this Roblox stuff, who are you, what you typing, you know, who are you with? We really want to, she hasn't experienced bullying herself, but her friends have. And she's very sensitive. Thought to get this out, keep it in the front, knowing how to handle it. And then it takes a twist. So you guys, at the end, it takes a twist where she wanted to make him as an adult. His name is Nathaniel. And how handle as an adult, because I said, well, why do we want to do it as an adult? She said, because adults can be bullies too, Mom. And I said, I'd let her do her thing on this one. So
that's awesome. It sounds like a book I need to read. Yes. So thank you. If you could put your contact information in the chat so people know where to find you. Next, I have Dean Heath. I didn't see that he checked in this morning. So if he's here, I'll give him a few seconds, but I don't believe he is. Our next speaker is Miss Prima Donna. And I mean, I love her, Braddock is her last name, but I just like to call her Prima Donna because she is like this prima donna. I know she was on here for a second. I don't know if she had to jump back off. She was here. Are you there, lady? You're muted. Hello.
I'm driving, so my phone just kept going on and off. So I apologize if I happen to get off. I mean, because my signal keeps dropping. But real quick, I'm excited about coming out with my book, Cards of Life, Learning How to Find Your Winning Hand. This is an anthology book for teens and young adult women. We have narratives from them. And when I tell you that this is powerhouse, these young ladies really were very transparent. And the church I attend is Transformation Church.
Yay!
And he often says, Pastor Michael Todd says, hot, open, and transparent. And these young ladies, I'm super proud of their boldness of sharing their stories. We're going to be talking about stories of individuals who have been diagnosed with Asperger's, who've experienced domestic violence, human sex trafficking. I really try to cover a variety of stories of also injustice, of racial tension in school. Again, I'm very proud of these young ladies and what they have produced. My goal is to have this book to be published by December 19th. I don't know if Pastor Katria is still on there with us. I saw her, but our goal is to have our book launch at her church, Ignite
Yay!
Church, on December 19th. So be looking for that. I do have a radio talk show, KBOB 89.9, that airs every Thursday from 2 to 3:30, and it's called Real Life, Real Talk. And our whole mission is helping women win in life, sharing relative information to help women win in life, spiritually, financially, mentally, emotionally. We want to work with the whole person. I have my own nonprofit organization that my husband and I, we work with at-risk teen youth. And we also work with families. Our whole goal is to, mission in short, is to help them rewrite their story so they can live a successful and rewarding life. And thank you, Crystal, for having me on and to be one of the panelists.
Thank you. I was wondering if you were going to go ahead and introduce your talk show and the fact that you have the entire network for young ladies. So thank you for being here. And if you have a moment, not while you're driving, because I don't
Right.
do the texting and driving, but if you have a moment, if you can drop it in the comments, but if not, I will go ahead and put that in there for you because you are driving, and I do not want to be responsible for you texting and driving. So thank you for being here today, and we're going to move on to our next person, which is Miss Katria Bell. Miss Katria, if you could introduce yourself.
Hello, good morning, Crystal. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to be a part of this event with the WHOW Network. And this is such an amazing event. And just to be amongst so many talented people is just an honor and a privilege. And so I definitely appreciate it. I am Katria Bell. I am an author of several works that have been published. One of my first works was God's Butterflies, which is a woman's journey through transformation. And it is a work that deals with healing of inner being of a woman, basically going through the different transitions and levels. We as women, we can give so much to everybody else, and we give ourselves so to the point sometimes where it's a detriment to our own selves and not taking care of ourselves. So it is a book that helps women to understand self-care is necessary, and not only that, but you are important. I also am a published author of Grace Under Fire, which is one of our collaborative efforts that we have done. And this is, I'm the project manager and a co-author with 5 other women from different backgrounds and different, I just gave them an opportunity to become first-time authors. So every other woman on this project was a first-time author. And so it is a prayer devotional journal, and it is a healing challenge in this book as well. Many of the testimonies in this book have allowed women to share their pitfalls, to share the abuse backgrounds, to share how God has literally raised them from such a low place into a place of victory. That is an awesome book. We have been so fortunate with Grace Under Fire to literally be in many halfway houses across the United States. It's literally been a part of rehabilitation programs for women coming out of incarceration systems. It has been also located in several universities in Jackson, Mississippi, and as well as in Oklahoma for different classes with Grace Under Fire. Both of those works are on Barnes & Nobles, and they are also on Amazon.com. I'm totally excited. I'm also working on some upcoming books. I'm working on my first novel that I am working on, as well as another inspirational book that I'm working on. Women Ministry is my heart. I am the director of God's Butterflies Women's Empowerment Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We have 5 different sectors across the country. We do a lot of traveling. I am also a pastor here in Tulsa, Oklahoma of Ignite Church Tulsa, my husband and I. He's also an author of 11 works himself. So we do a lot of writing in my house. We love writing. And there's so many different things that I could talk about. We have our hands in a lot. But thank you again, Crystal, for having me on. I'm really excited about this.
Thank you. And just like before, if you can put in the chat your information so that we know where to get in touch with you. And last but not least, our last panelist is Miss Tara Payne, who also did our prayer earlier, who is also on the board of WHOW. And we thank her for being here today. Miss Tara Payne, are you there? She may have had to step out. She is recording live. So I don't see her there, but we will come back around to her later on to ask questions. Tara Payne just released a book, and I believe the name of that book is When Hope Speaks. And I should know this because I built her website. So I believe it is When Hope Speaks. So I'm going to dive right into the questions. And our first person to answer the question is actually going to be Miss Tamia. And the question that we have for Miss Tamia, are you there, Miss Tamia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the first question that I'm going to have you answer is from Miss Brenda Johnson, and she said, "Are forewords and introductions necessary in a book?"
I think so. I do an intro just to tell you what I'm going to tell you about. Um, I'm a trained speaker. One of the things they tell you is to tell them what you're going to talk about, tell them what you're talking about, and then tell them what you told them. So an intro is always wonderful. They need to know what information you're going to delve into. That's more or less your summary. A foreword can be good too, because sometimes your foreword honestly can gain you additional books. They can give insight into your character to speak on that subject. They may have more info on the topic that you're writing about. They actually could gain additional sales. How many unknown people have you ever seen publish a book, but because Peter Wagner did the foreword, people bought it just because he did it? So it's beneficial. You don't have to do one, but if you do one, it's great too.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. Our next question, which is going to be by Mr. C Notes, this is not one that you planned for, but if C Note, if you can't answer this, we'll pass it on to someone else. But it is, what do you think about publishing ebooks, such as Kindle versus traditional publishing? C Note, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. So it was put in the chat. And again, that is, what do you think about publishing ebooks such as a Kindle versus traditional publishing?
I mean, e-publishing is good, especially for those that are trying to get their feet wet and get into the area of publishing and writing. It's a cost-effective way to begin, as well. Build your readers, get to understanding the format, how distribution is done, as well as, like Tamia had said earlier, it gives you another area for access for, besides building your following in your books and making sales and gaining royalties. Depending on the type of deal you set up, you can better percentage of your royalties while you build money in order to set up so you can buy physical copy books. So just the hits to that, as well as with the ebook itself. Tamia said something earlier in reference to also the copyright is another thing. With that is it's a fixed copy of your works. So sometimes, depending on how you're actually using that service to copyright your material, it can be just that one fee, or it can be multiple fees depending on how you register it. So you need to be very conscious of that and have an idea of how you want to build, the infrastructure behind what you're building. But yes, ebooks are a good avenue, especially when you have a lot of ideas and you write a lot.
So, C Note, to further go into that, which one do you feel is more cost effective? This should be common sense, but
I mean, as far as like Tamia said, everybody knows Amazon. It's always there. It's gonna be there. They have different formats and things you can use. The problem is a lot of people don't know how to use that formatting and actually how to format their actual books. So that's a whole nother issue. But the goal now with any content we do is about building your content, getting in a structured form, and getting out to the masses, because your passion is given to fulfill someone else's life. As my mother always says, once you write it and you let it go, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the world. So give the best of you.
awesome. That's a great way to look at it. Okay, Obum, you are now up. Thank you, Suno. Don't go anywhere because you will have more questions. We're going to go to the wheel of questions now because I've answered all of the traditional questions. So now we're going to be on the wheel. I hope it doesn't intimidate any of our speakers, but I think it'll be okay. Oh, it flipped at the very last minute. Do you want each book to stand on its own, or are you trying to build a body of work with connections between each book? So as far as your book, or when people write books, is this something they should do?
Yeah, it just depends on their overall goals and what they want to brand themselves as. You know, some people like to fit themselves into one genre, or maybe they want to have a series, right? If that's what you want to do, definitely make, you know, build that series or build up to it, lead up to it, right? But I personally, I like to do things on their own. I want to show the different, my different just creativity. So I feel like I can write about anything, right? But that's just me. But yeah, I think you can do both. I think there's room to do both. And also in that, even if I do have standalone projects, I can have a common theme that kind of, that's my calling card, right? They all kind of fit together in a way, but they could be standalone projects, but they have me behind it, and people know that they're going to get some of the same quality, excuse me, some of the same elements. And so I think you can play around with that. I don't want anybody to pigeonhole themselves into one thing. I think you can do both. I think there's room for somebody to really be creative in how they approach that. And they can do standalone, it's great, or they can do a series, or they can, you know, they can just link them both together in a creative. Sometimes you do it in a sneaky way where they go back and say years later, oh, did you know all these works were leading to the same thing? You know, so like you can just have fun with it, I think.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. That is a good way of looking at it. When you think of works, can you think of any works that have done that in a sneaky way? Like, what's an example of a book that's, we didn't know they were linked at first, but later down the road, they were all linked?
That's a good question. I have to really go back into, because I see that a lot in movies and some
I
books, but I
know.
know, yeah, I think I wasn't. I think sometimes they're not really secrets because the author would likes people to know it's them so they can make the money, right? But
Exactly.
I think there's some, you know, the what is that? The Davinci Code, books like that. They were all connected to the other ones, but I don't think it was really of a secret. But you know, things like that, just books in a series.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So Da Vinci Code is something to look at as an example of a book that actually puts that in there where it's a sequel, but you don't know it's a sequel, because I believe it's Da Vinci Code, and then the other one, it has a whole different title, but it's still a part
Yeah,
of that sequence, and then it became a movie. So,
yeah, they became movies. There's a kind
so,
of little bit some of those elements in there. Yeah, for sure.
so we're gonna go to our next one. I'm sharing the screen, and our speaker is going to be Camille, and the answer is, what period of your life do you find you write about most often, or do you write fiction?
So I do write nonfiction. I focus primarily in the self-help genre. So I guess that would mean I kind of write about my adult life the most often, since that is kind of what I'm trying to help people with. But I'm always pulling stories from wherever they seem to be relevant. So, you know, when we're looking at how we are now, it all revolves around what happened to us in our past. So I'm continually looking back and saying, okay, how did this thing, for example, I'm working on a book now about being an organized entrepreneur. And as I'm writing of that book, talking about how to being an entrepreneur, a large part of it is because of sitting at the dinner table with my parents every night, listening to them talk about how much they didn't like what was happening at their job. And so I become someone who liked what they did, which meant I ended up having to create my own path. And that was just from that childhood experience of sitting there hearing, oh yeah, this did this and that guy's so good. And I'm like, why do they work there? So I didn't want that to be for my life. So that shaped me. So, you know, even though I'm writing mostly from my current experience, it's always influenced by things that happened in the past.
That is amazing. Duly noted. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to dive right into the next question. And our next question is going to be answered by Miss She. And the question is, what kind of research do you do, and how long do you spend researching before beginning a book? Are you there, Miss She?
Yes.
You're on mute. There you are.
Okay. So honestly, I don't spend a lot of time researching before my book because a lot of them are self-help or experience things that happen from experience. So I really haven't had to spend any time doing it, like doing much research at all. On my first one, I did spend some time looking at statistics as far as different types of abuse for women, for young women, but I didn't get to add that into the book. So honestly, very minimal research.
Do you think that it's important to document or cite where you got that from in your book? Is that something you should do?
Yes, if you're citing other people's information, absolutely. However, I have not had to cite anyone's information because a lot of what I write is poetry. And so
Gotcha.
self-experience. And so definitely if you're citing someone, if you're using someone's, work, definitely cite that.
Amazing. Thank you. That was really good information. I'm going to go on to our next question. So the next question is going to go to Miss Sarah. And your question is, wait a minute. Hold on. I forgot to remove, so hopefully it doesn't do that again. Let's see. So have you ever Googled yourself as an author or to see if your books show up? And do they show up?
Yes, I think any entrepreneur is going to be interested in finding out, is my information really out there the way my publisher represents it or Amazon represents it. You're curious to see, how they put your book forward. Recently, I looked on Amazon to see how Love Always was being presented. And it's gone from being a collector's item to being an autobiography, which, by the way, is the correct category for it. But now they have it categorized for some reason as a book about interracial dating, which it is not. So I've had to follow up on that and make sure, because, the base that I built for my readers, it was established on love and forgiveness and just overcoming obstacles in life. So, I'm not looking for readers who want to read a dating story.
Mm-hmm.
Even though that's a perfectly fine category, it's not what my book is about. So I think it's important to do that.
You brought up a very valuable point, is categorization of your book. And that's something that you probably would have to follow up with Google and make sure that you're putting in those keywords so that they know what your book is about. Because if you're not clear about what your book is, you may never get your book discovered. So having a clear conversation, make sure you have your keywords in Google and Amazon when you put your information out there as a book, and on your website, whatever websites that you have, it should be categorized so that they know how to find your information. So thank you. Very, very good. Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. Okay, so I'm going to the next question. And the next question, I forgot to move one, and it's going to go to, this question will be for Miss Marva. And the question is, what was your hardest scene to write? And hold on, I'm going to pull you up. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that what was hard for me is the adult part of the book, right? I wanted to leave it out. And the reasons is I hate those being, because we're supposed to be examples,
Mhm.
for our children. And so it was really interesting that she wanted to make a turn like that. I was kind of really saying, let's not. And she stood her ground and was like, yes, let's do it. And so I think it was hard for me to write about how adults bully our bullies whenever, again, I say we're supposed to be examples for our children and to set the stage for them, right? So I think
Yes.
that was the hardest part for me in the book. I wish she was here to say what her hardest part was, but she's not coming on camera for nothing. So I had to just kind of
Not a problem. Thank you so much. Okay, our next question is going to be from Miss Prima Donna. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, I'm about to share my screen. Just a second. Your question will be, does writing energize or exhaust you?
Oh my goodness. Does it energize me or does it exhaust me? It's been very exhausting, but at the same time, it's energizing. I will say this to all beginner writers and people who are just starting off this, it's good to just take a mental break because you can get very exhausted. Like for me, I think the question before, was there something hard to write? For me, this question here and that last question, probably the biggest thing for me that was the hardest to write that became exhausting was tapping into the trauma in my past. That I thought that, okay, I'm good. But when I start writing, I'm like, whoa, everything just starts surfacing up. And I literally had to step away, regroup, pray, listen to some music, and then come back. It could be both. It can be both. Because I think, I don't know if Tamia said that, you really want to get the right words on the paper.
Exactly.
It's very important to, especially the editor. She hit that right out of the ballpark. The editor, it's very, very important. So for me, it's both. It can be exhausting and it can be rewarding. But you just have to learn when to step back and just say, it's okay, and then to come back. So I would say it's both. But at the end, when you publish it and you present it to the world, it's like, yes, I did it.
It's worth it at that point.
It's worth it. It's worth it. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so
You're
we're going to
welcome.
move on to Miss Katria. Katria, you're next. And the question that you're going to answer, I thought I had this where I could do it faster, where it just kind of gets to it. But the question is, do you believe that writer's block is a real thing?
Oh my, yes, for sure. There have been many times that I've become frustrated as a writer, especially during times and projects as such. Prima Donna just spoke of when you're dealing with a very hard topic, or when you're trying to expand, content and thought on a book. And I go back and piggyback on what Prima Donna just said, how important it is to take a break. Even as Tamia spoke earlier about structuring yourself and timing yourself with the structure and the outlines of your books, knowing where you're going. Those things help against writer's block. When you already have a path, you've already structured where the book is going, what's going on. There are times that I've had to come back to a particular area on my outline. Take the time to discipline yourself to focus on that original structuring of the book instead of a lot of times free writing. And free writing is good, as she stated earlier. But sometimes when you hit a roadblock in a particular area, it's good to sometimes just leave it as is for a moment. Take that break, maybe go to something else, and then come back to sit, and maybe, fresh thoughts will start to flow at that particular time. Sometimes we can work super hard on it, and because we're working with deadlines and timelines, giving ourselves some grace to take a moment to breathe and then come back to it. But yes, writer's block is a real thing. I believe it. I believe there are some effective tools that writers can use to make sure that you maneuver through those times that you feel like that you can't get past a certain hurdle.
What is one of those tools that they can use?
I believe one of the tools, again, first would be to schedule times of break, you know, even in the structuring of writing your book. I know we're excited. It's the expectation of getting a new workout, birthing something that's precious to you. There's an adrenaline and there's a push to get it moving and going, but to literally establish times where you just leave it alone, you know, and I know that's hard when you have timelines, but I think for the overall effectiveness of a book, sometimes you really do just need to schedule times of rest. You need to schedule that break, that moment. I'm not going to touch it right now because I feel like when you have a refreshed mind, then you're able to go to another place. Sometimes may help. If you're working in one area, maybe sometimes the changing of scenery may bring in fresh thoughts and fresh ideas. There are many things. Prayer is a powerful tool I use. Really just pray and you know, ask the Lord for new ideas and new concepts, things of that nature. But there are things that people can. I think each is different, and it'll take them figuring out, you know, what will help alleviate stress and anxiety, and you know, all the things that can come with writing along with that. Yeah.
Thank you. That is very, very helpful. Prayer being the biggest thing, because
Yes.
sometimes our writer's block is because there is something else that we should be dealing with before we can even write that message. And if we don't go to God for it first, we can't get the answer that we really need to get. So,
can I piggyback on that really quickly? Something you just said that's amazing. It's a project that I'm working on now that I literally started 3 years ago, and I came up on what you're asking about now, writer's block, and I was so frustrated. It's the third time I literally threw the whole manuscript away to start over again. What I did not realize after I took some time to pray and literally just had a heart-to-heart with the Lord was that I had not even completed some of the processing that I needed personally to even complete the project. And so there are some internal things that I needed to do on my own before I could write about the experience and the full victory in the area that I'm writing in. So when you said that, that is so key, literally to have that moment of prayer and connection so that you can hear yourself, because it may be something that you have done or something you haven't done that's prohibiting you from moving forward. So that was very powerful. Yeah.
So true. Hence why I have 3 books that have not been finished yet. Okay, so next we're going to move on to Miss Tara, and I'm going to read off the question. I've kind of already did it just for time reasons, but Miss Tara, our question is, does your family support your career as a writer? Are you there? I know I just saw you.
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So yes.
First, start with your name and the book that you have, because we kind of missed out on that, and then you can answer the question.
Okay. Well, my name is Tara Payne, and my book is called When Hope Speaks, my first book, and it chronicles my journey to motherhood, which was a 7-year journey that included some pregnancy losses, and just helps for anyone who has been through that or is experiencing that. It shows how my faith helped me to get through that time.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you again. And now if you could talk about, does your family support your career as a writer?
Absolutely. I believe my family and my friends have been my biggest push, because had it not been for them, they were like, you should do it. First of all, my publisher, who is a very good friend of mine, was like, my publisher, who's a very good friend of mine, said, I think that it's time. She knew that I'd always wanted to write a book. And a few years ago, she said, I think it's time. And then my husband said, you know what? After having given a testimony about my story at church, he said, yeah, you need to go ahead and write. You should go ahead and write that. So yes, my family definitely supports me, and I'm grateful for that.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. The next question is going to be from Miss Tamia. Are you still there? I don't know if you're still there or not, but the next question is going to be, Sean, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, the question is, what is the most unethical practice in the publishing industry right now?
That's a loaded question.
Or what are some unethical things that you've witnessed?
Uh, some unethical things, especially after being on the backside of this, where we done a mountain of research. We started our company because we were trying to figure out how to publish our own books, and over the process, we have found out, how things are structured and how a lot of ways that they're making money on some things. And the biggest thing, I guess, would be the over promising and the under delivery. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this for you, I can do this. And they don't do any of it, but you paid them the price to do X, Y, and Z. And so that's problematic. Um, People stating an idea is not good and worth picking up, but they pick up that individual's idea, change it a little bit, change some names, and reproduce it under another name. Um, it's a dirty industry. At the end of the day, it's a business, and you have to treat it like it's a business. And everyone does not have character and integrity. Some people will look at your work and pick up your work and know that you don't know how to do any of those things.
Wow.
I've seen price
Amen.
breaks or price marketing for products that I know they paid nothing for. There's a service in some self-publishing companies where they will say, we will do your Library of Congress. Oh, admit that for you. It costs $99. Library of Congress is free. Go to the site, now you do, but it's absolutely free. They didn't pay anything for that. And so the literal way they will market some of these companies are out of this world.
Wow, now that is powerful. And I think it happens not just in the writing world, but everywhere, especially right now where there's a big start your own business boom going on. So be careful, be mindful of who you're going into business with. And just because someone says they have a product, you might want to look at the reviews and you might want to ask for referrals. And they should be able to show you where they've helped someone do what they're wanting to do for you. Before you pay, make sure you're getting your value. So something to keep in mind, not just when writing books, but anything that you do in life. Thank you, Miss Tamia. We're going to go right back into Mr. C Notes. And your question is from the chat, and it says, how do you decide how long your book should be? Do you just keep writing until you feel you are done, or do you decide on a limit for the length beforehand?
Well, that can also depend on what type of book you're writing, like because there's some quote unquote standardized areas for where you publishing nonfiction if you're doing a novel and things of that nature. It also depends on how much you want to give a reader. Some things are better weighted, for another book or different chapters down the line instead of get them so much at one time. Treat it like a serving of your meal. There's different portions for different things. I think like my book is currently like 300 pages, 316 pages. I wrote about 800 pages initially, and it's a poetry book, but it's put in the form of a story. And it started about pain, different levels, but it's really about forgiveness. And that literally helped me with different ideas and set up other books. But it took me writing that much just to get to the limit that I put it at, even though it still is an extended level for most poetry books.
Gotcha.
Also, let's see, what you said. You have to know what you want to give. I always mark it that way, because if you put it on a page number or something like that, then you're confining your thought process. And creatively, I don't like my thought process confined that way. Once it's relieved from myself, that's when I'm done. Now putting in the information I'm giving to someone else, that's I can structure later. But give of yourself freely first. Otherwise, you're not going to know how to be as adaptable when that need is it, because you're limiting you.
That's good. That's really good. Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next question, which is gonna be for Aboom. And the question is, how did publishing your first book change your process of writing?
For me, you know, my first work that was published, I'll be honest, I didn't really feel much with that. It didn't change anything because I felt like I was really just completing an assignment, right? It's something that I was brought into. But when I saw my first work that I wrote performed, that changed the game. That now, it kind of made it harder for me because now that you get feedback, right? You get positive feedback or you get any type of feedback, now you start to feel legit. So now you might start to overcompensate, or you might, you know, shy away and feel like I can't repeat this. So it's changed my writing in a way where I feel more pressure now. I feel more pressure to have that same magic and that same boom or bust that I had before. But I've also had to realize that my unique style is what created the people to love it or to like it. So I have to tell myself to just be me. I'm the best. You're the best person at being you. Nobody else can be you like you. You're the expert at that. And so you have to stick to that because they have a bunch of people doing everything else. And I can't try to fit in and try to act like I belong, right? And change my writing up. I have to stick with the magic that is me. And so there really hasn't, all it did was it gave me pressure, but it also, it kind of makes you feel like I am legit now, and people do like this, and it's in the actual work that people can really find. So let's continue to do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So thank you. I'm going to go to the next question, which the next question is going to be for Camille. And the question is, what are the most important magazines for writers to subscribe to? So either magazines or writings that writers should subscribe to.
So I saw this question on the list and I thought, I don't even know what magazines are out anymore. It's been a while since I've looked to subscribe to a magazine. But what I would suggest for a writer is, if you are writing in a particular genre or story about a certain field, I'd go pick up a magazine or look for a blog or look for another book in that. So if you're wanting to write, you know, a detective story, you got to figure out what information is relevant to that. And if you want to write something about like somebody who works in a science lab, you might need a science journal, you know, to kind of see what's going on in that field. That might be my best suggestion for people who are wanting to write in a certain field, is you got to figure out what's going to make your story real for people to know that field, because you're writing a story about it, but the person who works in that lab and picks up your book, when they read it, they want to see something that's accurate. If you're referencing something, they want to see something they're like, oh yeah, I read that article too. So they want to know that you understand whatever's happening in that world. I think a lot of us on here have written from personal experience. So then for me to want to write something from personal experience, it may not just be, you know, magazines. For me, it's picking up other books that will help me grow so that I can then share my growth with others. So that may be other things that help me with habits or help me with my mindset or whatever it is, so that I have that well in hand when I'm trying to teach that concept to other people.
I love that. I love that response. So our next, thank you, Ms. Camille. Our next person is Mrs. She. I don't know why I keep forgetting that, because on the paper I have something else. But Miss She, what does success look like for you? What would a successful book look like for you?
So a successful book, what it looks like for me is, first off, knowing the story, know what you're writing about, having the focus and the right content in the book. Also knowing your target audience, knowing who you are going to market to, who you want to get your book out to. And thirdly, having the right marketing and advertising for the book. That's really important, and making sure that you're out networking at different events and connecting with the right people to help that book be successful. And so when I wrote my first book, I didn't think that I was a writer. I just wrote for a really long time. And so I had that release that, hey, it's time to get the book done. And so I had already had those people around me who actually believed in my work and helped me to promote it to be, successful. And so I think just, knowing who your target audience is and being willing to put in the work, because sometimes you're going to be discouraged with that book. You're going to have, you're going to come across writer's block, but to have your mindset that you have your goal that you want to achieve and then set it there and just go for it.
Thank you. That is good information. Next is Miss Sarah. And the question is, how do you market your book? Or what's the best way to market your book that you found?
That's the question I did not want.
Well, we'll pass that question on. Hold on. We'll save that question for a later person.
Okay.
Are you a part-time or full-time writer?
I'm a full-time writer. I guess you could say I'm a lifetime writer. A lot of the work that I've written has been done throughout the course of my life. As a child, I loved reading. As a child, I started writing. I just drew from my life experiences, and inside of me, there was this gift that I had to share. And so now I write, even if I get new ideas almost daily, and I write them down. And from there, I draw inspiration to continue on with whatever writing project I'm on. I also am an editor for a publisher, a local publisher. So I spend a great deal of time editing other people's work as well. So I guess you could say, yes, I'm a full-time writer.
That's awesome. Thank you for that response. So I'm sure a lot of other people on the call as well are full-time or part-time writers. I'm going to pull back up that question that we just had. And Ms. Marva, how have you marketed your book?
Yeah, so I'm glad I got that question. I don't want any of the other questions. Anyway, so for me, I binge social media marketing because that's the way of the world today, right? It's a lot of online stuff. So I'm on Facebook, on all my social media platforms, and then word of mouth. I tell people about it. I carry my book with me. And so, but I think the most successful for me is online and social media, the outlet for that, because you can reach so many people online, and especially with COVID and being quarantined, then you reach people, like people are online and they're watching, right? And so I think that the best way that has worked for me is my platforms, and then my networking capability to get on other platforms, right? So, I mean, that's the best going for right now.
I love it. Thank you so much. That is very, very good information. I think for a lot of people, those marketing things or tools are very helpful. So I'm going to go to the next one, which is going to be for Miss Prima Donna. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
So did you write under a pseudonym, or are you under your Prima Donna name? Do you have a writer's name?
I know for some who may not know me, be like, is that really her name? No, I did not go under a pseudonym. That is my real government name. No, I use my name, and I forgot to mention in the beginning, the introduction, that I've been part of 2 anthology book projects. So yeah, I did use my name when I was part as a co-author for those 2 books.
Do we have anyone? Thank you, Miss Prima Donna. Do we have anybody on the call that does go under a pseudonym?
I go under a pseudonym. That's probably too why it's kind of hard for you to pronounce. But
Yes. Yeah. The she, right? You go under she. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So there is someone that goes under. I know other people do, and they've been known to actually go through both of their names. We have a few more questions though that I do want to get to. So if you have to leave, you can, because it is 1 o'clock, but we're right at the end of our questioning. I really want to get to the rest of them. The next person to answer is going to be Miss Katria. And have you ever edited out of your books? Have you ever taken something out of your book that was originally in?
For sure, yes. I mentioned in the previous answer that I began a project about 3 years ago, and literally initially start removing some chapters of the book. I think writers go through that. You know, after you begin to go back and read your own material, it's very important to go back and read as the reader. You know, a lot of times we're reading, you know, we're writing from the perspective of a writer, but how very effective it is a tool to go back and read as if someone is reading it for the first time. My husband and I use that a lot in writing a lot of our books. But yes, I've taken out sections, and I've thrown away full manuscripts.
Oh, wow.
To start all over again. And that is a huge sacrifice. But I believe when you want to, you know, produce the most effective, impactful, excellent material, sometimes it's necessary to start over again. So yes, I have started over the process again. But at the end of the day, it was very worth it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And Tara, you're going to answer the last question, and then I have a few questions for the entire panel. So Tara, are you there? I don't know if she went. She's in and out of recording, so she may not. I don't see her as of right now. So I'll just go into the rest of the questions. So how many of you have actually, how long has it taken you to write your book on average? And if you could just give like a time frame, I'll just go through all of the panelists and kind of ask you all. So Tamia, how long on average does it take you to write a book?
It depends on the book.
Okay.
And so I have like the book that I'm promoting today, I've written a book, What's Next. I think it took me about 3 months to write that book. However, I have another book that I was writing, and I kept getting writer's block. And when I went and prayed and talked to God about it, he told me that I wrote myself out of it, and that's why I couldn't write it. And so that one took me a couple of years to get that one together. I think it's possible to, if you do a really good plan, write one in a year. But I know some folks that can dish them out every 3 months. So I am not one of those people, but I do know people that can do it.
That's amazing. And C-Note, what about you?
Well, my book, Wisdom's Lit, was actually 2.5 years worth of my life. The way it actually came up, though, because I write profusely, I can't get it up. Literally, writing is like a therapeutic action for me, so I write every day in some format. And if you want to talk about the structure and get everything together after the writing, it took me roughly about 2 weeks to put it how I wanted, format to go through, make sure it is clear and concise of the message I want to give, how I wanted it to feel, and then the time after that for the business side as far as getting distributed and all that place. But I believe, like Tamia said, it can take a couple of months to a couple of years, depending on what you write. Since I spend most of my time in the areas of poetry, and I'm all guys going. It's not really that crazy for me, but I think to give the real meaning or substance to anything you want to do, average, I'll say 90 days, as she said, just at least let it sit with you to make sure it's right before you put it out. Because you may need to say, okay, put it back and then wait off and go to something else. Because you don't want to just throw it out there. And after you're just writing, like I live, like I said, I write every day. I share something every day, but that's just a medium to keep my craft going, you know, my energy, you know, while I do my other writing.
That's good. And Oboom, how long is your average?
So just for me, it just depends on what we consider writing, because a lot of us haven't said yet, a lot of this lives in our head for years. It's till we finally start writing is when, okay, sometimes it can be quick, because there's a book I've been working on. I've even wrote a little bit on, actually wrote a lot on. I've been working on that for 9 years. But also there's other things that I had in my head that once I start writing, it could take me up to a month or less. So for me, it's just a lot of the work is in my brain for years sometimes, or, you know, so there's a lot of, so if you consider that the writing process, then it could take a long time. But if you actually start from when you start typing it finally, it's could be a week to a couple months.
Thank you. That is awesome. And next, if Camille, how long is your average book, or how long did it take you to write your book?
Sure. So once I actually decided to sit down and write it, from starting that to getting it out was about 2 years. I write part-time, so I do other things full-time, lots of other things, and then this is kind of a side thing for me. So I don't get to write for 8 hours a day. I wish, but not right now. However, when I go back and I look and see, like I went back and I looked at research and notes and other things that I'd written in the past, I found files that were 10 years old that had the same concepts that ended up in the book. And I'm doing the book that I'm working on right now. I'm anticipating it's going to take me about 2 years to get it fully done. But again, I'm going back and I'm like, oh, there's that same thing that from years and years ago. So sometimes, like Oboom said, it has to live in you for a while. And then eventually you get it sorted out and get clear to where you can actually write those words on the page. So it's a process.
That's awesome. How long did it take you?
So again, mine's is a memoir series. So it was things that I had a collection of from 15 years ago. And so once I got in a place where I could create the space to put all those things in order, it took me about 6 to 9 months. I was in a fresh space. And so I just kind of went through them and I just started creating. And probably about 9 months, I had everything typed up and ready to go. And so it just kind of, for me, again, I had already had it typed up. So it kind of was laid out for me.
Thank you. Sarah, you as well? How long for you on average?
Well, it depends on what I'm writing. Because I write from, most of my writing is life inspired. I'm very familiar with what I'm writing about. And as I go along, having more experience with an editorial eye, it takes me less time. But I think if you're writing about your life, an autobiography, that certainly is going to take longer, especially if you're including any type of trauma, because those things are kind of difficult to work through, and sometimes you have to write them and then rewrite them. And then if you're writing a children's book, being a mother of 7 children, a grandmother of 13 children now, but you have a lot of experience in that field, and it's easy to see life through the eyes of a child for me. So children's books certainly take a lot less time. They're not quite as long. They're certainly not as long as an autobiography.
Oh, yeah.
So it depends on the work. The autobiography took me about 3.5 years to write. It's 380 pages, about somewhere in there. The children's books are a lot shorter, and the poetry that I write has been written at different times in my life over a very extended period of time. So I agree with Camille and Obum that, you know, what you write does live inside of you. And depending on what it is, it may take you a short time or a long time to get it on paper.
Thank you. Miss Marva, how long did it take you to write your book, or your average? Are you there? She may have had to jump off. Let me see if I still see her. I do not show her on here anymore. So I'm going to move on to Miss Prima Donna. Are you there? I don't think she's there either.
Hello.
Yes, Miss Prima
Hello.
Donna.
Sorry.
How long did it take you to write your book?
Well, with the Energy Book Project, it didn't take no time because we had a time line that we had to submit our story. So it was pretty quick. Now, my personal one, yeah, it's been a minute. So for me, it's been a couple years, but now that I've started the Cards of a Life, the anthology book project, which I started in June, and will be launching in December, that's probably the quickest for me. So I think, as you know, there were great questions for me for my own memoir. It just took a lot of time for me to just step away and to say, okay, it's all about timing. So I would have to, that question for me is, it's all about timing, the right timing to get the book finally finished. And I say that because I was watching Dr. King's niece, Alfreda King, and she had co-wrote a book with a friend, and she was Caucasian. And the name of the book was I Am Not Colorblind. And so she said, I'm not colorblind. And basically, they had finished a book and just sat on it for 2 years. But what she said was that when the lawyer gave them the release to actually finish the book, to publish it and everything, to present it to the world, the George Floyd situation happened. And so the situation was like, I said, okay, so what I've learned here is that it's all about timing.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Miss Katria, how long did it take you to write your book?
The first book, it was a pretty quick write. I agree with many of the other panelists. Writing process is inclusive more of just, pen to paper or typing on a keyboard, but literally from the start of typing, it was literally within 2 months, my first book. However, the collaborative effort, being a project manager over 6 different authors, now that was a 2-year process, and that was a quick process. Even still, I know it may seem like a long time to those that are aspiring to write, but it really is not. Time goes by so quickly when you're putting together a project to write or finish a book. I heard one of the gentlemen even speaking about the business side of it, and to get it published and to get it circulated. I mean, it's such an intense process, but I think the highest or the extreme amount of time would be about 3 to 4 years. I think the maximum time frame to finish a project. Yes.
That is so good. And thank you. Miss Tara, you're going to finish us up by telling us, how long did it take you to do your project? Are you there, Tara?
I'm here. Yeah. So it took me about 2.5 years. But I kept, because there is trauma, and there was trauma related or associated with my story, I stopped, and when I wrote, I would find myself crying a lot of time while I was writing. It ended up being a release for me. But when I think about it, there was things that I had written and they just needed to be put together and kind of mastered. So had I done it from beginning to end, like in one setting without stopping myself, it probably wouldn't have taken long at all. Because whenever everything was together, it went so fast, but it was a long drawn out process because I would start and cry and stop and start and cry and stop. So.
Well, I want to thank everybody that came today. Thank you, Tara, for giving that. It looks like the average is about 2 to 3 years. I mean, just about everybody on this call said about 2 to 3 years. Again, thank you, panelists. Thank you, everyone that showed up. I want to finish with all the people that signed up for today are going to get a prize because we didn't have that many people. So I'm going to just read off those names that will be getting a prize. We have Miss Rose Hurd, and I'll tell you what you'll be getting. Well, first, okay, let me back up. Let me find the list of things that we have. Of course, we had one book for Miss Tamia Lewis, and now we have a book for Camille Diaz. And the person that's going to win that book, and I'll show you the winner, is going to be Miss Shakia Berner. Yay! She won Miss Camille Diaz's book. So we will allow her to collect that, and I will get the information for you. Let me make notes that Shakia won that, and then we'll go into the next person. So the next person is going to be winning Miss Marva Davis's book. And it looks like that's going to be Miss Rose Hurd. And we want to thank Miss Rose for all her hard work. She does all of our questions for us back and forth. So thank you, thank you. And the next person that is going to win, and they're going to win the book from Miss Sarah, that winner is going to be Miss Marva. Miss Marva, yes. You have won the book, Miss Sarah's book. I'll make sure that you get that information. Our next book is for C Note, from C Note. And that's going to be Miss Katria Bell. You are the winner of C Note's book. And then Tara also gave a book. And the winner of that book is going to be Miss Crystal Scarborough. Oh my goodness, we have some wonderful winners. Okay, so that book was Crystal. And then, okay, so I purposely left one last one. We have one more book from Miss Tamia. And the winner of Miss Tamia's book is going to be Miss Rose Hurd. Now, there was one last gift. Tamia gave us 2 of her books, but we had one last book. And that last book, or it's not a book, it's a $25 gift card to Amazon by Mr. Aboom. And the winner is on the screen, Miss Nisi G. We thank you for being a part of us today. You are the winner. All the names that were entered are winners today, and hopefully next time you tune in, you can be a winner from now until the event. Our next event is going to be on December 12th. It's the last event of the year, and we are actually going to talk about all of the exciting things we're going to do for 2021, and we have several giveaways. So if you missed this event, free event, virtual this year, we're going to talk about our events coming up. You're going to meet the board. You're going to see all the wonderful new projects we have going on at WHOW. We're going to roll out some wonderful things. And hint, hint, WHOW is doing a book. It's a collaboration of women. If you're interested in being a part of that, please contact me, Crystal Ifakoya. You can also go to our website, WHOW Network WHOWnetwork.org. But our next event will be December 12th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Finishing up today, we would love for you to join our team. We need a little bit of everybody, and your volunteer time is tax deductible. So please, please, please volunteer as much as you can. Here's some of the areas that we have need help in, but we will take help in any area, and donations. And don't forget to become a member. It's only $25 a year, and you want to be a member for 2021. WOW is changing the game. This will be the last year that you get to experience WOW completely for free. Next year, everything will be a part of the membership of $25. So please become a member, because we're going to have some amazing information, and you can only be a member to access it. We will still do our free events, but they will only be once per quarter. So please jump in and become a member. And of course, here's all the ways to reach WOW. You can become a speaker, become a mentor, you can become a member, you can make a donation, and also follow us on our WOW organization page. And we will see you next time. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everyone that came and was a part of our event today. We appreciate all of the speakers, all of the writers, the authors, and the people that attended. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And I am